a lot of you who know me well, who knew me before we started this YouTube series, will recognize this background and this backdrop. And it's a place where we meet almost every Tuesday night. It's a place where we, as a group and as a community, get to hang out and spend time with each other. And I've really missed this spot. I really miss this place. I really miss you guys. Especially this week, because I feel like this week there's so much that we want to talk about and so much that we want to do, but unfortunately we're stuck doing it online. So this is sort of my little attempt at trying to bring us all a little bit closer together. Hey, hello, my name is Christian. I am a youth worker in Carlisle and the surrounding villages. If this is your first time here, then welcome to the channel, welcome to this thing. It's our attempt at having a community when we can't be together. It's our attempt at having some sort of conversation when we can't meet and talk in physical ways. So I'd love for you to like and subscribe and do all the things that we usually do. Hit us up on our socials, Carlisle Network Youth Church or Hebron EC.youth. We just want to keep this conversation going. We want this to be something that's feels like we're together, even if we're not doing that physically. I'm just going to give you a heads up. This one is going to be a little bit of a heavier one. I'm sure you guys have all seen all the stuff about Black Lives Matter and how to be an anti-racist and all those sort of things that have been happening online. And I'm going to be honest, I feel awkward bringing this up. I am a white, middle-class, straight dude who's never known much of anything when it comes to oppression or that kind of stuff. So it's my responsibility today to just listen and learn. I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to say anything because it's not my place to. So we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to break this into two smaller sections, and then that's going to be us this week, because we want you to spend some time doing some work and trying to figure out what it looks like to be an anti-racist in Carlisle. So we're going to highlight a few voices. We're going to highlight a few Instagram channels. We're going to highlight a few different places where you can learn, where you can listen, and where we can all together then sort of try to start figuring out what this means. And I know a lot of these conversations have been happening in the US or maybe in bigger cities in England, but we want to sort of try to bring it in and look at what does it mean to be anti-racist here in Raffles, or whatever part of the city you're from, or whatever school, if you're at Trinity or one of the Richard Roses or whatever it is. What does it look like to be an anti-racist here in our local community? Alright, so we're going to throw it over to Esther. She's been thinking a little bit about this as well, and she has some really interesting thoughts and ask some really good questions, which I think is where we've got to start, is by asking the questions.
Hey guys, I'm Esther. Hope you're doing okay. Now obviously in the past week some pretty big things have been reignited in America and in the West mainly. And so for this video, we wanted to join in that discussion and open that discussion out with you guys for us to start thinking about these things in our lives and our lives here in Cumbria. We're not going to so much dive into the specifics of race and race relations or solutions, but we want to think about things in a broader sense and hopefully have a starting point for us to think about them in our actual lives and not just here on YouTube. So scaling it back quite a bit, we're talking about our hearts and our values. And some questions for you guys to think about and reflect on are, what's the attitude in our hearts towards other humans? How do we assign value to some people and not others? Do we see people of color differently than how we see the white people around us, and why? I guess you guys might want to think about this in terms of people at different schools, at Trinity or Nelson or Richard Rose or whatever, but think about the people you meet and how you interact with them. Maybe even the jokes that you might make or hear or laugh at about different communities and people in our area. But on a base level, it comes back to being really honest with ourselves about what we truly believe and stand for in our hearts. figuring out what that's based on and maybe seeing if it even needs to change. But what we believe in our hearts should be lived out in our actions and words. It should be visible in our lives. And for Christians, we believe that everyone was made by God and everyone is loved by God. In His eyes, we're just as precious and valuable as the next person. And part of being a Christian and responding to that love, the love of God, is for us to have and actively share that with everybody too. Now in the Bible, Micah 6:8 tells us that the Lord requires us to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly. Now, these are all verbs. They're things we're called to be active in. We're called to care, but not just to care, to live it out. And James 2 verse 17, also in the Bible, says, faith itself, if it does not have works, is dead. So while we start with the heart and where our hearts are at, we don't want to leave it there. We want to be acting on it and living it out. And it might look different for different people, but we all want to be doing something. Now, this is a big topic. It's an important topic, and so we really want to encourage you guys to pick up this discussion and think about these things for yourselves. But talk about it with us, engage with it with your friends, with family, with whoever. We want you to talk about the issues you care about, discuss them. Now we get that it can totally be easy to feel overwhelmed or uninformed, and that's why we're going to share some resources with you guys that are hopefully helpful. But yeah, we just definitely want you to think about them. We're thinking about them. It's a big topic, super important, and definitely something to engage with.
Those were some really helpful questions and comments, weren't they? I thought so, at least, especially about doing justice. It's the Carlisle motto, isn't it? Be just and fear not. So here's a few links and a few resources that we think can help us to work towards being anti-racist. And don't forget that this is, how does we bring this home? How do we bring this into Carlisle? How do we bring this into our community? How do we bring this into our street? We wanted to highlight a few Instagram and YouTube channels. So ShowRacismTheCard has both the Instagram and YouTube, and there's some great resources. On Instagram, there's of course BlackLivesMatter UK, and then there's another one that's called The Conscious Kid. And there's some really helpful links on there often, and other things, so well worth the follow. Something you should definitely check out. And then there are a few websites that we want to highlight as well. They're on Facebook. There's BlackLivesMatter UK again, and change.org is a place where you can sort of fill out petitions. And there's a few there that has to do with teaching racism or teaching anti-racism about Black history in schools. There's a few movies that are on Netflix for free, or or on Prime Video, but they are often quite graphic and a little violent, so they're often 15, so make sure that if you're wanting to watch any of these, make sure you check them out with your parents, or talk to them about it if you aren't 15 yet. Last but not least, there's a book if you really want to dig in and go deeper. There's a book called Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race, and obviously it's a big commitment, but I think checking out a book is really helpful in like going deep and really learning, so you can check that one out. But what are you using? Where are you learning? Please do send us links so that we can pass them on to the community. We really want to hear from you as well. We know this is just a tiny little list of resources. There's lots more, so let us know what works for you. Where have you learned? What is helpful to you? So please comment below or direct message us on social media. All right, one last thing. Usually at the end of these YouTube videos, there'll be little like boxes here, there, that you can click on to watch videos that we've made before and all that stuff. We're not going to do that this time. We're going to have 2 videos that we link to that aren't ours. One is by an artist, rapper, spoken word guy named Propaganda, who has a video called Again, which I think is really compelling, so I encourage you to watch that one. And then the other one is going to be is a much longer video. It's almost an hour long, but what they've done is that they've just compiled a bunch of different artists together, and when you watch that video, the ad revenue, all the money that comes from watching all the commercials that kind of come throughout, actually goes to anti-racist organizations. So even if you don't have money to donate to anything, just by watching that video, but you gotta watch all the ads, you're kind of donating to those organizations, but without you having to spend any money. So that just all the commercial money goes straight to them, which is a fantastic way for you to maybe get stuck in if you don't feel like you have any money that you can donate. So, but now it's over to you. Now we have to do that work. You have to do that work. I have to do that work of following people, of listening, and of learning. We now have to do the job of finding out what it means to be anti-racist in our house, on our streets, in our schools or work, and in our Carlisle.